wallet is already borrowed time. Every fiat currency in history has eventually returned to its intrinsic value, which is zero. But here's what the financial advisors and gold commercials both miss. Real collapse-era currency isn't metal or paper. It's the 8 categories of tangible goods that people will trade anything to get their hands on. Things you can stock today for pennies, things that are sitting in dollar stores and garden centers right now, largely ignored, radically undervalued. This video changes how you think about wealth storage forever. Every major currency collapse in recorded history, Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, Argentina 2001, Yugoslavia in the 90s, shares one common feature. People didn't stop trading, they kept trading. The economy didn't end, it transformed. The medium changed. When the German mark became worthless in 1923, people were exchanging cigarettes for rent, butter for train tickets, firewood for dental work. The barter economy didn't emerge because people read a prepper blog. It emerged because human need is constant, and wherever there's persistent human need, there's currency. Here's what that means for you right now. The items that become currency in disrupted economies aren't random. They follow a pattern. They're consumable, meaning demand never stops. They're difficult or impossible to produce locally in the short term. They have psychological or physiological hooks: comfort, addiction, hygiene, medical necessity. And they're divisible. You can trade a little or a lot depending on what you need. The modern financial system has conditioned you to think of wealth as digits on a screen or paper in a vault. But for most of human history, wealth was stored in things: in seed, in salt, in skill, in tool. The 8 items in this video represent that older, more durable form of wealth, the kind that doesn't require a functioning banking system to have value, the kind that your great-grandparents would have immediately understood as serious, transferable, real-world assets. You can acquire every single one of these starting today for well under a few $100s total. That's not an emergency kit, that's a wealth position. Number 1, non-iodized salt is the oldest currency on Earth. The word salary comes from the Latin salarium, the salt rations paid to Roman soldiers. For most of human history, controlling salt was controlling civilization. And here's why that matters today. Salt is irreplaceable. The human body cannot synthesize sodium. You must consume it or you die. That need doesn't change when the grid goes down or the supply chain breaks. Non-iodized salt, specifically pure sodium chloride with no additives, is the form you want, because iodized salt has a shelf life of around 5 years before the iodine degrades and it becomes clumping, off-tasting, and less tradable. Pure salt, properly stored, lasts indefinitely. Beyond direct consumption, salt preserves meat, fish, and vegetables without refrigeration. It's essential for hide tanning and leather production, and it's a component in basic wound care and oral hygiene when medical supplies run short. Right now, a 50-pound bag of non-iodized canning and pickling salt costs roughly the price of a fast food meal and can represent years of trade value. Stored in sealed buckets, it does not expire. This isn't just a survival supply, it's portable, infinitely shelf-stable wealth. Number 2, heirloom seeds. In any prolonged disruption, the person who controls seed controls food. And the person who controls food controls everything else. The first thing people scramble for isn't gold, it's calories. Heirloom seeds, open pollinated varieties that reproduce true to type, let you grow, save seed, and replant indefinitely. One tomato can produce hundreds of seeds. Those seeds can produce hundreds more tomatoes and thousands more seeds. One small packet holds the genetic instructions for an ongoing food supply. Prioritize calorie-dense crops and medicinal herbs. A modest heirloom seed collection costs very little today, but becomes extraordinarily valuable to someone who is hungry. Here's a number that reframes this entire conversation. During the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and fire, a single box of matches sold for the equivalent of roughly $160 today. Not because matches are complicated, because the need was absolute. Number 3, high-proof alcohol. Alcohol has served as currency in virtually every alcohol stores indefinitely when sealed and is extremely versatile. Disinfectant, medicine base, fire starter, cleaner, preservative, and trade good. Large bottles can be divided into many small trade units. Someone needs wound disinfectant, that's one bottle. and that same potency requires careful handling. Number 4. Medical supplies. Minor medical problems become major threats when supply chains break. Infections, wounds, and untreated injuries quickly escalate without basic care. High-value trade items include wound closure strips, medical-grade honey, disinfectants, tourniquets, pain relief, and compact treatment supplies. A thoughtfully assembled kit stores small but carries enormous real-world value in a disrupted environment. Number 5. Coffee and tobacco. Comfort items hold surprising trade power. Withdrawal and psychological stress create strong demand when survival needs are met. Whole coffee beans stored sealed remain usable for years, and green beans last even longer. In a world without fresh coffee, a single cup becomes a luxury people will trade for. Tobacco seeds represent a renewable, high-demand crop. You may not use it yourself, but producing a desirable trade good has always been part of functional economies. The most valuable trade goods in crises are rarely the most expensive today. They're the ones with the biggest gap between current cost and future demand. Number 6. Hand tools, knives, and cutting tools. Cutting tools become essential for food preparation, construction, repair, farming, and countless daily tasks. Durable, repairable tools like fixed-blade knives, axes, and saws retain value indefinitely. Now, sharpening tools and knowledge multiply that value. The ability to restore a working edge is a service many people cannot provide. A small collection of reliable tools represents long-term productive capability and excellent trade leverage. Number 7. Candles and fire-starting tools. Light affects more than visibility. It affects morale, decision-making, safety, and the ability to function after dark. Candles store indefinitely and become highly valuable in extended outages. Lighters, matches, and fire-starting tools are small, cheap today, and extremely useful in disruption. Fire enables cooking, warmth, sanitation, signaling, and survival. Tools that reliably create it carry consistent demand. There are historical accounts of people trading enormous value for simple hygiene items during shortages. The final category reflects that same reality. Number 8. Hygiene supplies. Soap, feminine care, and sanitation. Hygiene prevents disease and maintains health when medical systems fail. Soap stores indefinitely and maintains constant demand. People will trade real goods for the ability to clean themselves, their wounds, and their families. Feminine hygiene products become scarce quickly and hold high value for those who need them. Reusable options eliminate recurring supply problems and become especially valuable. Water purification supplies and filters also fall into this category. Access to clean water is foundational, and the ability to provide it carries enormous trade leverage. Every item we covered shares the same principle. The gap between cost today and value during disruption can be enormous. When supply chains fail, or scarcity rises while need stays constant. These goods are divisible into small trade units, practical for daily exchange, and resilient outside financial systems. Human need doesn't disappear when currency changes. People still need to eat, clean, heal, and stay warm. They simply shift what they use to exchange value. This isn't paranoia. It's diversification outside the financial system. Ownership of real goods that retain value regardless of institutional stability. Every financial system in history has eventually changed. That's not doom, that's history. Right now, these goods are available at ordinary prices. The window between cheap and scarce often closes without warning. Start small. This week, spend a modest amount on essentials like salt, soap, lighters, and seeds. It fits in a small bin and establishes a real position in tangible, need-based assets. Add one category at a time. Over months, you build a practical reserve of goods that hold value because people genuinely need them. Ownership of essential goods is not extremism. It's one of the oldest forms of wealth storage humanity has ever used. It worked before modern systems, and it works whenever those systems change. The key is holding it before that change arrives.